Hello and welcome to this tips and techniques video from Master Your Photography. In this series we've carefully crafted a collection of short videos designed to provide you with key points on specific topics without any of the unnecessary waffle. Our goal is to give you practical information that you can immediately apply to your own photography. We understand that your time is precious, so we've condensed each video to deliver concise, actionable information. With our tips and techniques series, you'll gain the knowledge and the confidence to improve your photography in no time at all. So, that's probably enough waffle, let's get started. Resolution and image sizing and resizing is one of those areas of photography that can cause a lot of confusion, particularly if you are a new photographer. But it comes down to some basic principles that if you can master these, then you won't have any problems. Now, resolution is it's a definition of the amount of detail that an image contains. So higher resolution means there's more detail within your image. If we take this image for example, this is 5,184 pixels wide by 3,888 pixels tall. Now that gives us a total of just over 20 million individual pixels. The more pixels we have, the higher the resolution and the more detail we can actually show within our image. So if we enlarge just a really small portion of this image, one of those daffodils, you can see that it's made up of individually coloured pixels. So the image overall contains over 20 million of them, and every one has a unique colour assigned to it. And because we don't view it this closely, then we see the overall image and we see detail. Now you'll hear terms like DPI and PPI thrown around when it comes to image resizing. DPI stands for dots per inch and is used in the print industry, and PPI stands for points per inch and tends to be used for images that will be displayed digitally on screens. Remember, when you take your photograph, you don't need to be thinking about DPI and PPI, you just need to think in terms of resolution and how many pixels you have overall. What you do with those pixels is decided during post-production. So for high quality prints, your DPI is going to have to be 300 or higher. If you are producing images to display on a screen, then you can work with 72 PPI, that's points per inch. You can see here that we have a square within our grid. This is 30 pixels wide by 30 pixels high. So we've got 900 pixels in there, and that would make up a square measuring just 0.1 by 0.1 inches if we were printing at 300 dpi. A single square inch of print at 300 dpi contains 90,000 pixels. So you can see how 20 megapixels might sound like a lot, but when you start cramming 90,000 of them into a square inch, then you need quite a lot to maintain a high degree of quality. If we go back to our full image, so this is 5184 by 3888 pixels, 20 megapixels in total, then if we divide those by 300, because we want to print at 300 dots per inch, then we could produce a print size that is 17.28 by 12.96 inches. And that's without doing any resizing to that image at all. The dialog box you can see here that says image size, that's the one that is in Photoshop Elements when you go to the image size options. It looks very similar to the one that's in the full version of Photoshop and many other software packages as well that you can use for resizing. Now there's two things I want you to take particular note of on this dialog box. The first is the constrain proportions. Sometimes that might be shown as constrain aspect ratio. We would usually have this box ticked as it is here, because what that means is any resizing we do, it will do proportionally to both the horizontal and vertical dimensions. If you don't have that box ticked, then you can end up stretching your image either one way or the other and basically distorting everything. The other box is the resample image box, which is also ticked. And now what this means is, if we change the DPI, which is currently set on 300 in this box, it says pixels per inch, but dots per inch, it means the same thing. If we change that to 72, then what will happen is the image sizing option will actually throw away some data and it will actually shrink down the resolution of our image. because we only now need 72 dots per inch, not 300. So you can see that by having this box ticked and changing the DPI to 72, our resolution of the image is now going down to 1244 pixels by 933 pixels, and we've still got a print size of 17.28 by 12.96 inches, but it's only at 72 dots per inch now, so the quality is much lower. The image looks slightly blurry now. If we do the same exercise without having the resample image box ticked, so we change from 300 to 72 DPI, then there's no change whatsoever to the overall pixel dimensions of our image. We've thrown no data away whatsoever. What we have done though is we have increased the print size massively, but it's now only at 72 dots per inch. A useful way to think about it is if your image size is fixed from your camera, then the DPI or PPI setting is simply telling the software how far out to spread those images, how much to stretch your pixels out to fill the required print size or screen size. So if you're working at 300 dots per inch, then the pixels are a lot closer together than if you're working at 72 points per inch, where they have to be stretched out to cover a much bigger area. In this case, where we haven't ticked the resample image box, but we've dropped the resolution to 72 DPI, then it's given us a massive print size of 72 by 54 inches. If we actually hit the resample box, we ticked it, and we said, okay, we want to produce that print size at 300 DPI, then what would happen is the software would use a process called interpolation, which would scale the image up, and basically it tries to make up the missing information because it stretches those pixels out over such a large area that gaps start to appear between them. And interpolation will guess at what that data should be by looking at the pixels next to the gaps, and it will generate maybe a half decent result. Some software packages are better than others at interpolation, but overall interpolation is something that you should avoid if you can, because you're basically making up information that wasn't there in the original photograph. So hopefully that's explained some of the confusion that does surround image sizing and resolution. It's quite simple once you get your head around DPI, that's dots per inch, and PPI, points per inch, and the two terms are interchangeable quite often. So you should be using 300 DPI if you're producing high quality prints, 72 PPI for any kind of screen display, which will also help to keep your file sizes smaller. Avoid any kind of interpolation if you possibly can, and remember to tick the constrain aspect ratio box when you resize your images. Thank you for tuning in to Master Your Photography's Tips and Techniques series. We hope you found this video useful and practical. Remember, each photo you take is a stepping stone towards becoming a better photographer. So, get out there and capture the world in your own unique way. Until next time, happy shooting.